Fusion cores are some of the most sought-after items in Fallout 4. They're not too common out in the wasteland, are expensive beyond belief, and your power armor is worthless without them. But more importantly, you can use them to turn nuclear waste into an actual weapon, which naturally brings up an important question. Can you beat Fallout 4 with only ejected fusion cores? If you haven't dug deep under the intelligence perk tree in Fallout 4, you'd never know that rank 3 of the Nuclear Physicist perk lets you eject fusion cores from your power armor as a sort of timed grenade. Nuclear Physicist itself requires intelligence of 9, and it also requires you to be level 26. So before I can unlock it, step 1 in my adventure to cleanse the wasteland with nuclear leftovers was to get to level 26 without attacking anything. I won't overhype it. For the first time in my life, I'll be nice and call it a learning experience. The real game begins with very minor tweaks to create the perfect man and the assigning of special points. As I said, intelligence needs to be at least 9. Perception at 4 lets me take the lockpicking perk, endurance at 7 because I'm going to be taking a lot of damage in the early game, charisma of 3 for the Lone Wanderer perk, and the rest are irrelevant. I named myself Sean to amuse me, not you. There were fireworks, and as one door closed, another one opened. As for escaping the vault without attacking any of the roaches, it's as easy as locking them behind the door and waiting for them to forget you existed. Out into the rest of Fallout 4, I headed home to get to work. In the past, I've harvested the remnants of Mother Nature's beauty to create a world of fences. After abusing that power for more than a year, I learned that some settlement items can be crafted in place over and over again without moving. But there's an actual exploit that dwarfs everything I've done before. All around Sanctuary are items, trees, baby fences, houses, cars that can be scrapped for their base components. You take these components alongside a few perks and craft wire fences or wooden fences or any item that costs next to nothing to craft. Craft as many as you can, and you can be at level 4 or 5 before you leave Sanctuary. The difficulty in past videos has been obtaining enough components to create objects on a large enough scale that makes it worth doing. But that problem dies today with the infamous item duplication glitch. Full disclosure, I loosely followed SuperBtube's video on getting this Fallout 4 Infinite Experience Exploit 2021-2, hold on, gotta turn to page 2, work properly. It feels impossible to get it first, then you nail it once, forget what your mentor just told you to do, and f*** up. But that wasn't my first f*** up. To get the most out of this duplication thing, you want to craft statues made out of copper. Simple enough, except the blueprints for creating those statues are at Sega Ironworks. Luckily, I put enough hours into Fallout 4 that I could get to any location in my sleep. I set the waypoint and set myself off for Sega's Ironworks without any way to attack anything, without any armor, and with minimal supplies. Even on I can't believe it's not very easy, the creatures down around this way don't play nice. It was around the time I noticed the edge of the glowing sea that I thought to maybe check an actual map instead of assuming I was going the right way. Off by, like, most of the map, I got my wits about me, set a waypoint to the probably right objective, and crossed through the heart of downtown Boston, discovering as many locations along the way as I could to level up faster. Before I knew it, with all the power of a level 2 Soul Survivor playing on very easy now, just to be safe, I arrived at Sega's Ironworks and blasted through the doors. My medical supplies consisted of the essentials, 2 stim packs and 19 tomatoes. Most of the heavy hitters in the building were down on the main floor. The few guys up in the rafters didn't have enough time to hit me. After running through the metal hospital, I entered the sacrifice chamber and searched the trunk for my magazine. It was nowhere to be found, though I did snag the explosive bobblehead. Of course, you can see that the magazine was right there on the floor. This is a curse of watching a new show on another monitor and not really paying attention. Keep in mind, I'm a professional YouTuber. This is my job. Escaping the foundry took longer than breaking into it. Somehow I went in a circle in one room multiple times. Outside, the steelworkers who followed me outside forced me to use the one drug I found inside to successfully break free of their chains, run into the arms of a Mr. Gutsy, and return to Sanctuary, because thank God I don't really need that magazine to do the duplication glitch. Pick any item. I used concrete and steel, and drop it on the ground. Tap the scrap button a split second before you press and hold the store button. Do it right, and you'll get both menus to appear at the same time. Press A twice to scrap and store the item. The amount of concrete I have has now doubled. The possibilities are as endless as the amount of time it takes to sometimes pull off the inputs at the exact right instant. However, as we all know oh so well by now, exponential growth is a sick f***. It gets out of hand faster than you'd think. I'd gotten 15,000 concrete and 10,000 steel without meaning to. I didn't need that many, I only needed enough to fill up Sanctuary with whatever will suck up space the quickest. The statues add a nice hint of positivity to an otherwise dreary town. With the size bar filled, I broke out the wire fences and got back to the old grind. If you've got something going on another screen, you can sit there mindlessly pressing X and A to scrap and store the last possible object due to the limitations of how many objects can be placed in a settlement, and with thousands of pieces of steel, the experience is effectively infinite. In less than 20 minutes of building, starting with the statues and ending with the last wire fence, I gained 7 levels using what is unquestionably the worst item to use in this exploit. Wire fences don't give out shit. They're great at level 3, but at 5 XP a pop, you're looking at least 5,000 wire fences to reach level 26. Having mastered the exploit to the point of being able to pull it off at will, I jumped ahead a bit to the collapsing of the economy. Steel and concrete may be the backbone of our civilization, but it's oil that moves the market. One oil weighs 0.1 weight and is worth 4 caps on the open market. Vendors won't pay that, but it's worth far more than steel or concrete, and I can carry substantially more oil in the same pocket space. In 5 minutes, I'd pulled 4,000 oil out of thin air, then ran to Bunker Hill to exchange oil for medicine, because I'm going back to Sega's Ironworks. I let them damage me outside to give them the illusion of success. Inside, I spent my perk points on 2 levels of toughness for an immediate plus 20 damage resistance on top of the 10% from Lone Wanderer. I found the magazine right on the floor where I'd left it, backtracked through the forge again, bought a couple items containing copper, broke them down for their base components, and let the magic begin. I'm telling you, once you get how to pull this off, it'll become trivial. I spent more time inside Sega's Ironworks the second time than it took me to go from 6 copper to 40,000 copper. When I said a while back that this was a learning experience, I wholeheartedly meant it. You saw how slowly I was leveling up with the fences, watching my experience rise in real time. Doing what I just did with wire fences, now with copper statues, shook me down to my empty core. In a mere 8 minutes, I'd gone from level 15 to level 25. At the last moment, sensing that a single statue would raise me up to level 26, where the true game can begin, I swapped over to the Majestic Lion, placed the king, hit level 26, and took my rightful place as the 3rd most powerful creature at this gas station, behind the lion and Dogmeat who's around here somewhere. Level 26 is a special level. I've only achieved this status once before, in my Can You Beat Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC without taking any damage video. In the excitement of hitting level 26 in a somewhat legit way, I didn't just give myself the perk at level 1 or console command myself to level 26, I might have made like 18 individual mistakes. In a true, with only the 3rd rank of the Nuclear Physicist perk playthrough, you'd take that perk and only that perk and none of the others. Rather than doing that, I spent all the perk points I'd just gotten in the last 2.5 hours. The big perks were Nuclear Physicist of course, Action Boy and Moving Target for increased AP regeneration, and 50 damage resistance when sprinting, Lockpick rank 3 to pick Master Locks, another rank of toughness, and the remaining perks aren't interesting enough to mention. You can see what they are on the poster, and none of them are combat perks. Now, finally, we're on to step 2. To use a fusion core as a weapon, you not only need a suit of power armor, you need fusion cores. I hacked into the computer inside the Museum of Freedom to find my first fusion core and ran away back to the gas station to duplicate the fusion core. It didn't work. It was only a shot in the dark idea anyway. I didn't need the power armor yet, so there was no reason to grab it. I had what I needed back at the Red Rocket. Dogmeat casually lifted all 26,000 of my leftover copper and lost interest in helping as soon as he saw a bug. I'm gonna ask you one more question. It can be rhetorical if you like. It doesn't have to be. If I told you that I carried those thousands of pieces of copper with my bare hands from basically Sanctuary to downtown Boston with the intention of taking it to Diamond City's market, but I got lost along the way, would you believe me? At Diamond City, I plopped a literal ton of metal on Artie's counter and asked him for his biggest batteries. He had 6. Myrna had 2 more, I stored my copper in a workbench, and went to Bunker Hill for a few more. Dogmeat met me there, did a cute little trick for attention, I banished him to Statue World, bought a legendary arm piece from Baldy, returned to the Museum of Freedom, entered my power armor, and couldn't figure out how to eject a fusion core. Make sure you have no grenades equipped, press the button to throw one anyway, and congratulations, it's got 5 seconds to live. Fusion cores ejected from power armor are generally pretty insanely powerful. The explosion and resulting damage to nearby enemies is on par with a mini nuke, but on an infrequently consistent basis, enemies will not be damaged by the explosion. It's a similar problem I faced when playing Fallout 3 with the Nuclear Anomaly perk. Out in the Commonwealth, I used what remained of my fusion cores to clear the area for the Minutemen. Could not finish the job, so I blocked the doorway with my power armor and waited for Preston to help me out. The last remaining raider lacked the aiming skills required to hit me and the mental fortitude to hurt me. After saving Preston and friend, he ran straight for my power armor, forever dooming his family to a lifetime of not being helped by me. Before returning to that armor, I slept the days away at Sanctuary to allow the vendors time to restock their batteries, obtained half a dozen more, and in the safety of my armor I tested my fusion core against the most powerful and conveniently already found boss in Fallout 4, SWAN. He had the advantage of the air being wetter than usual, while I had the advantage of being able to knock him on his ass with my leftovers. Between Cleo and Daisy, I bought 7 more fusion cores in Good Neighbor, leveled up once more for good measure, and laid waste to the triggermen waiting in the entrance of Park Street Station. Somewhere in the depths of this subway station, I started feeling something inside me. Not a thing, a feeling. Like I was a Yoshi in the vault throwing eggs at my foes. It's all I'd ever wanted aside from selling Vault Yoshi stickers. That burning desire didn't last for long. I'd come prepared with enough emotion for Nick and I both. These triggermen that I didn't kill followed me down here into Nick's holding chamber, and until you talk to him, he's indifferent to anyone attacking him. As it usually goes in every video I make, nothing went well down here. I only had 6 fusion cores left to escape Park Street Station. That's for all these plus the multiple hallways and Skinny Malone. What I wanted to do was cry and complain and find some way out that didn't require spending 4 of my 6 fusion cores before I talked to Nick. I waited until Nick had become completely worthless before hatching my penultimate weapon. Nick woke up, and we're 1 level away from freedom. 2 luckily placed charges killed multiple triggermen, and with no fusion cores left in my possession, my only remaining option was to convince Skinny Malone to let us go. After another exciting round of sleeping to restock vendors and buying product, I'd gotten up to 19 fusion cores. Took a trip to the happiest place on Earth, ran the circuit again, this time without armor for maximum efficiency, and with fusion cores out the ass, I spoke to Nick about Sean. He's missing. Kellogg's house in town will have clues, and for the first time I have the lockpick skill necessary to open the door. Just gotta find a lockpick. They're all over the place. In boxes, suitcases, desks, all that shit let me down in Sanctuary. Not one of the houses had a lockpick. The Museum of Freedom didn't have a lockpick. The buildings near the museum didn't have any lockpicks. I found the one single bobby pin in the entire f***ing world down in Vault 101. It was a pre-war treasure. I should have expected it. Not planning on returning, I said goodbye to my wedding ring, returned to Diamond City, bought 7 more bobby pins from Percy just to be safe, cracked my first master lock, and Nick didn't react differently at all. Shouting at Dogmeat to find me caused him to run off. I pursued him through the fog to Fort Hagen, sent him to the world of statues that will never pet him, and faced the Institute synth army for the first time alongside Dogmeat, who I found running up the stairs from the basement. As for the synthetic people, they didn't fare too well against my fusion cores. Unless they did. Down here, I began piecing together the most likely reason for the fusion cores sometimes not damaging enemies. The cores drop onto the ground and roll around a bit depending on where they land, and it seems likely that random objects being between an enemy and the blast would shield them from harm. Another equally annoying aspect of using fusion cores as a weapon is that they act more like mines than grenades. There's a delay before they explode, and that window gives smarter people than me enough time to run away from the blast. Or it could all just be completely broken. This legendary synth got blown onto his perfectly sculpted ass and yet was undamaged from it. Kellogg's time has come. I even popped a dose of Jet to celebrate this special occasion. What I hit Kellogg with is a fat man on training wheels. Of course it killed him. Piper and Nick recommended I check out Good Neighbor for this Dr. Amari character who can read the mind of Kellogg. I wasn't much use to anyone there, nor was I observant in Kellogg's memories. I only turned around when X688 said he was taking me back to the Institute, but that's not where I'm headed. I'm headed to the edge of the world. If you're not blinded by the sun or laid to rest while you're minding your own business in a radiation puddle, the blood bugs will get you. All this beautiful scenery was actually starting to piss me off. Coincidentally, that happened right after the Rad Scorpions noticed the radiation in my pocket. It's too bright and other relevant adjective. The fix couldn't be any more convenient or practical. Just turn around. Now the sun's not in your eyes. I killed the Deathclaw outside Virgil's hole with a handful of fusion cores, got the base schematics for an Institute teleporter from Big Green, and entered the Big Green to find a courser. Those lucky enough to be chosen by one of my fusion cores were selected for a single reason, usually because they couldn't run away. The guy in the bathroom, for instance. I blocked the doorway with my entire body, shot out a nuclear bomb, and left him to hope the stall door saves him. Most of the others were killed for being in my way. Blocking a path through a hallway is such an inconsiderate thing to do. It warrants death. Fusion Core 1 almost put the courser on his knees. Number 2 overshot the mark by a mile. I had his jacket, and before leaving I used my power as the player to slow down time for a real good look at what's happening to the Fusion Core. Dr. Amari pointed me towards the railroad, living beneath the Old North Church. I did them the favor of clearing out the upstairs of ghouls, and in return they saw me as their enemy, until I opened the door. The +1 to charisma from the wig goes a long way towards tricking the railroad into thinking you're helping them. Tinker Thomas decoded the courser chip, letting me get back to Virgil after I took the duplication glitch to its logical conclusion. I'm ejecting fusion cores powered by nuclear power. Might as well use nuclear material as my currency. Not only doesn't nuclear material have a fantastic weight to value ratio, it's safely stored in this plastic housing so it's safe for the environment. I only made about 24,000. Used a small portion of them to purchase many more fusion cores, bought stim packs, thought about beefing up my body even more with ballistic fibers, but I've got more than enough nuclear to make up for the lack of ballistics. And what better place to use that nuclear than in the catacombs beneath the burger joint? I damaged myself as much as the synths down there did. At level 36, there's only so much damage basic synths can do. Deacon and I came to the switchboard to find a prototype for the railroad agent Dr. Carrington. Deacon was eager to get it. I returned the prototype device, pretended to be Santa Claus to a couple families in need, cleared out the rendezvous point of critters, blocked the doorway with my armor to be safe. Old man Stockton lost his mind when he lit a candle in the window, which apparently triggered a radiation storm. I'll admit I played God to do this quest during the day, because it's usually done at night. Doing it during the day will be a novel experience. And that wasn't even the craziest thing that happened in this quest. I interrupted a super mutant going after a Mirelurk, and they were both hot on my trail until they burned away. The synth is safe. I bought more ammo, cleared out Hangman's Alley, and built the teleport plans Tinker Tom decoded. Of all the items I needed to construct the teleporter, the only one I lacked was a biometric scanner. I found that in the bottom of a hospital near the room with all the magnets for the Brotherhood of Steel. I'd have nabbed them if they were there, but I told you in my last video that the Brotherhood of Steel are the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Fallout. Had I talked to them first to trigger that quest, I would have found the magnets. No matter, I wasn't gonna live to work with them anyway. Once I beeped myself inside the Institute, I began communication with Patriot, and found myself in a small room somewhere beneath the surface of the Earth. To continue working with the railroad, I had to run a game on the Institute, while simultaneously assisting the synths in sparking a revolution. Telling Liam I was on his side leveled me up to level 37. Unprecedented territory, probably. Madison Lee pack-a-punched my Pip-Boy to let me fast travel out of the Institute, and I received my first set of orders from Sean. Liberate Libertalia. There, atop the towering ship, I found the Raider Waster, the one enemy on this fucking tub with the firepower to take me on. Fat Man versus Fusion Core. The battle of the century that was decided in seconds. I won. Used the recall code on the rogue synth, and dropped one of my fusion cores off the plank. The Institute's grand plan involves an obscenely oversized battery that'll power this plant of theirs for ages, and the secret of that battery lies within Cambridge Polymer Labs. Science happens here, all over the place. To solve the puzzle, you collect a couple samples, plug them into the computer, complete the experiment, and get presented with the piezonucleic power armor as a reward for all your hard work. That's a nice fantasy to live in, the one where I did all that. In reality, I used the armor to clip through the door by walking into the door in third person, exiting the armor, and while looking to the left, entering the armor again the instant you're able. Down in hell, Desmondo complimented me on my puzzle-solving ability. I slept the days away again, purchased a new helmet for my head to blend in when speaking to the trader in public, gave Liam the day by waiting patiently in the cafeteria for 24 straight hours, and just when you think I couldn't sink any deeper, I did. Then I took care of the synth guards in the construction field. We're so far into Mother Earth, there's not another alive human who could hear the detonations going off. Civilian drones were caught in the crossfire. It happens. Speaking of things happening, the war over Bunker Hill's happening again, and this time I played it safe. Railroad and Institute are both fighting, but I'm friends with them both, so they ignore me and gang up on the Brotherhood of Steel. Their petty rivalry distracted all their forces long enough for me to sneak into the basement and let the synths know that I'm here to help. The Institute sent a courser in response to my betrayal. I dropped an egg on the floor, it exploded, and both sides lose. This, of course, changes nothing for either side. Father still delights the hotshots vying for his spot with his announcement of his terminal illness. He still names me the honorary father in training, and I still teleport to mass fusion with Allison Fillmore for more beryllium agitation. The Brotherhood of Steel are now my mortal enemies. Their Buzz Lightyear armor is forever out of my reach. I meant that literally. I turned around and fired the fusion cores as hard as I could, and they never hit any of the knights or the scribes. Power armor and perks protected me from the radiation damage inside the agitation chamber. The sentry bot absorbed the same number of you-know-whats as the assaultrons, which is the same number as all other non-tough, non-deathclaw abominations. 2. Now that Allie's back where she belongs, Father offered me the chance to help someone change their perspective on the situation we're forcing them into. It's dire. We can't keep the boys above ground for too long. I took a quick 4-day power nap to prepare and made my way to the house, talked the scientist into joining, and their nuclear reactor was up and running moments before I took my rightful place at the head of the table. Naturally, I had my most trusted Allie at the end of the table. Not long after informing Dez of the upcoming Brotherhood of Steel assault, it happened. Of all the quests in this playthrough, clearing out the Old North Church gave me quite the headache. Multiple knights with Gatling lasers, multiple aspirants hiding behind destroyed pews to survive my blasts, and there's the Knight Sergeant with complete immunity from my nuclear damage. Then, to finish the job, we picked up what remained of the fight and brought it to their doorstep at the police station. Then I faced the Vertibird, one of the few vehicles in Fallout 4 I can't harm. My fusion cores don't reach up into the stars. Not that they had to. We stormed this base and liquidated their entire inventory for the bird to fly up to the Pridwin. There, I knew I'd find a healthy allotment of ammo for my body inside Proctor Teakin's safe room. It's possible more than one fusion core was inside at one point, but after clipping through the door and detonating a nuclear bomb inside a prison cell, there was nothing left to salvage. Our mission was a success, regardless of my own personal failures. The Pridwin lit up the sky with a display of fireworks. I let Desdemona know we're ready for the final assault, made room on the landing pad for everyone who would be showing up, and let the real game begin. We had no time to spare, and I was running low on nukes. I used one upstairs near the turrets as I leapt from the balcony, used a second to aid the railroad in burning down the trees, experienced what it was like to be the fake Sean, and confronted Father. Him being confined to a bed presented me with a unique opportunity. I climbed up on top of him, positioned myself accordingly, killed my son with my most prized possession. The wind took away his body. I donned the sea captain's hat, plowed through the Institute's Special Forces division, planted the bomb, and beat Fallout 4 with only ejected fusion cores. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, leave a like. Leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy the video or didn't learn anything. Thanks to the Champion tier supporters as well as other channel members for making videos like this one possible. Join the Mitten Squad Discord server by going to mitten.land. Follow me on Twitter @MittenSquad. My name is Paul of Mitten Squad. Have a wonderful day.